The Man in Black, The Citizen of the World by Oliver Goldsmith. Summary Analysis. Hello and welcome to the discourse. Best known for his comic play She Stoops to Conquer and the novel The Vicar of Wakefield, Oliver Goldsmith was also one of the most prominent essayists of the 18th century. The character of the Man in Black appears in Goldsmith's most popular essay collection, The Citizen of the World. Although sometimes described as a novel, Oliver Goldsmith's The Citizen of the World, published in 1760, is united by a very slight plot. A collection of letters written by Lien Chi Altangi, a fictional Chinese visitor to London. The letters were originally published individually in the daily journal The Public Ledger as a series that ran between January 1760 and August 1761. There are 119 letters, some 700 pages in all. In them, Goldsmith uses his fictitious author to deliver witty and frequently damning criticism of contemporary British culture. In the process, he incidentally also reveals a lot about contemporary British conceptions of Chinese culture and the state of British trade relations with China. The major theme of The Citizen of the World is to emphasize internationalism while condemning national prejudices. The character of the Man in Black, also known by the title The Man in Black, is perhaps the most famous essay from the pen of Oliver Goldsmith. Along with his Bay Tips, it ranks amongst the greatest English essays. Goldsmith has drawn a memorable character through this essay. The Man in Black is a sort of roving ambassador of kindness and generosity. This essay is a character sketch of an Englishman, which is a testimony to the writer's maturity as a humorist and his peculiar style of writing. His character is a curious mixture of contradictory qualities. He is generous in the extreme, but loves to be known as a great miser. His talk gives the impression of a cruel and ill-natured man, a misanthrope who hates mankind. But while he is talking ill-naturedly, his cheek is glowing with pity. He tries his utmost to hide his noble feelings as though he feels ashamed of them. But his pretense of being what in reality he is not is often exposed to a very casual observer. The greater part of the essay deals with this strange paradox of this most lovable man's character. Goldsmith gives three concrete instances of his conduct with the poor and needy persons, and in all these instances, his innate good nature becomes more and more attractive. The Man in Black is a friend of the imaginary Chinaman Lien Chi Altangi, the fictional writer of Goldsmith's letters or essays. This Chinese citizen is supposed to live in London. He is always roaming about in the city and tries to note the peculiarities of the English people. He naturally comes in contact with people of all sorts, especially people with some odd character. The Man in Black is one such person. The writer aptly calls him a humorist in a nation of humorists. It is worthy to note that, like his Chinaman, Goldsmith too is a foreigner living in London. He was an Irishman who later settled in London, but scholars often suggest that though this character Goldsmith has attempted to sketch a kind of self-portrait, the Man in Black in some measure represents the author himself. Summary of the Man in Black. Goldsmith, under the guise of Altangi, a Chinese philosopher, gives an interesting description of an Englishman who is probably the Man in Black. It is an immortal creation of Goldsmith himself. He registers the need for humor and humanism in human life. The Man in Black has contrary qualities. He is a humanist in a nation of humorists. He always pretends to be a miser. Though he is extremely generous, he looks like a misanthrope. He tries to hide his good qualities, but at all times his good qualities are revealed. One day, the Man in Black and Altangi go out on a tour of the country. They discuss beggars and poverty. The Man in Black lashes at the poor, calling them lazy hypocrites. Every one of them is an impostor, and they rather merit a prison than relief. The government has taken steps to relieve their suffering, but they roam about everywhere pestering travelers. While the Man in Black is talking in this manner, an old man appeals for help. He speaks about his dying wife and 5 hungry children. Obviously, it is an invented story, but the man in black is moved by it. Seeing it, Altangi pretends to look another way. The man in black stealthily slips a piece of silver into the beggar's hands. While loudly warning the old man against troubling people like him, he scolds him for telling false stories. The man in black thinks that Altangi did not notice his charity and starts to attack the beggars with his words. He also adds beggars should be put in prison. Then he tells 2 stories of ladies robbed by beggars. When he starts the 3rd story, a sailor with a wooden leg asks for help, and the man in black asks him angrily how he had lost his leg. The sailor replies that he lost his leg in defense. On hearing this, the man in black is really touched. He wants to help him. Instantly, he asks the matchbox of the sailor. The sailor asks him for a shilling for it. The man in black, without hesitation, gives it to him. Then he happens to see an old woman in rags. She has one child in her arms and another on her back. She was attempting to sing ballads, but with such a mournful voice that it was difficult to determine whether she was singing or crying. The man in black is moved by the poor state of the woman. At that incident, he puts his hands into his pocket to give money but finds it empty. He feels great pain for not solving the woman's problem. The man in black looks more miserable than the woman because he cannot relieve her. Then he remembers the matchbox worth a shilling. He puts it into her hand and walks away. In conclusion, despite his austere exterior, the man in black embodies a compassionate and noble spirit. He is truly a generous individual and a remarkable character, a testament to the depth of human goodness concealed beneath outward appearances. Thus, the man in black seems black outside but white and noble inside. A humorist in a nation of humorists. The word humorist means an eccentric person or one with strange inconsistencies in the manners. Goldsmith calls the man in black a humorist because of the eccentricities observed in him. The man in black is ashamed of his natural benevolence and wishes to appear harsh. The inconsistencies of his words of cruelty and harshness towards beggars in general and his graceful acts of generosity towards particular ones are humorous in the extreme. In fact, this humor is the very life and strength of the whole essay. The subtle humor of the character of the man in black makes him a loving and immortal character. England is a nation of humorists because there are many types of eccentric people. The essay is a societal critique in which Goldsmith portrays a society that is broken both economically and morally. He criticizes the widespread poverty and economic conditions that have led to it. Oliver also criticizes the moral shortcomings of the society, such as its indifference to the plight of the poor. The man in black is ashamed of his feelings of compassion and tries to hide them because it is not an appreciable trait in society. Goldsmith also criticizes the help offered by government for the poor people and suggests the incompetency and corruption in it. He favors indirect reforms and he introduces the man in black to highlight these issues and promote change. So this is it for today. We will continue to discuss the history of English literature. Please stay connected with the discourse. Thanks and regards.